You've mentioned today political keys on environmental consequences. What's the main important environmental policy in Norway, in your view?
I think there are two main environmental issues in Norway. One is how to combat climate change, to prepare Norway for climate change, but also to take part in international negotiations on climate change. And maybe the most important we do in that regard is our climate and forest program, which has been spearheading the conservation of and sustainable use of rainforest. We are, for instance, working very closely with Brazil and Guyana in Latin America on that matter. The other main issue is the conservation of species, or the natural nature diversity. We have just presented an act to the Norwegian Parliament called the Nature Diversity Act, which is about how we protect plants and animals in Norway, but also we are trying to embark upon global initiatives on the protection of nature. We are also, of course, having a lot of national parks, etc., in Norway with the same aim.
If you have to make a rank, in which place is climate change?
I would say these two are of similar importance. They're also linked in the sense that climate change is one of the factors having a very negative effect on nature. For instance, in our part of the world, our oceans are becoming a lot more acid due to climate change. That may changing the composition of the fishing stocks, and may have a very negative effect on nature here. But of course, globally, climate change is one of the really dangerous factors on destroying nature. Extinction of species, for instance.
How do you manage the oil industry with environmental practices here in Norway?
We are proud to say that we believe that we do have the strictest protection measures for the oil and gas industry anywhere in the world, but we should not be satisfied with that. They must be improved every hour, every day, because we cannot accept any major oil spill or any other catastrophe coming from the oil and gas sector. Oil and gas in itself is not a very environmentally friendly business, but when we do it, we should be absolutely certain that there are no oil spills, that it's done in the most efficient way technologically, and of course that the money coming from this is handled in an absolute transparent way, so that we know there is no corruption and no abuse of the money. And I think in Norway this is absolutely transparent. Everyone knows what amount of money we get from the oil and gas sector and how we use it.
And it's easy? Or
it's not easy. It has been a long political struggle in Norway, because without environmentalists fighting for strict environmental protection, we wouldn't have had it. The oil companies may accept it, but they will not be the driving force behind it. But we are now operating a huge program called Oil for Development, where we are sharing our experience with developing nations in Latin America, for instance, with Ecuador and Bolivia. In Africa, we are the main partner with Ghana in writing the laws organizing the oil and gas sector in a new oil nation like Ghana.
You mentioned NGOs. What's the relationship with NGOs in Norway and with the government and NGOs?
It is a good working relationship. Most non-governmental organizations are at least partly funded by the government, but they also spend a lot of time criticizing the government, believing that unless they are putting a pressure on the government, we will not behave.
Okay. Do you think renewable energy development is one of the most important policy to fight the climate change?
Yes, definitely. But we also have to add other issues like carbon capture and storage, and many others. But definitely we must develop wind, solar, hydro, biomass, and make these mainstream technologies for the future. I mean, there is no technological limit as to what amount of solar energy we can we can develop. It's just a matter of getting the price down. If the price on, say, solar panels come down to a lower level, the same will happen to that as happened to mobile phones or internet. 15 years back, the internet did not exist. Now it's absolutely everywhere. Wherever there is middle class on the entire planet, even where there are poor people who can afford something, they do have a cellular phone and they do have internet. And that will happen to these technologies, but the price must come down.
Okay. Which is the most important renewable energy in Norway besides solar?
Hydro is by far the most important here, because we have a lot of big falls. Many of them have, so more or less the entire grid in Norway has electricity from hydro. But surprising, when you know our climate, we also have a substantial solar industry. That is due to the fact that we had a silicium industry in the past, and then some people discussed how can this silicium be given a new life, how can it be used in a new fashion, and then understood that that can be used in solar panels. So for that reason we also have some solar industry, while we do not have as much sun as Argentina.